Welcome to episode 2 of Malaise 2026. Our first match is going to be between Zero Suit Samus and Bowser Jr. Looks like we're going to be on pilot wings for this one. Zero Suit Samus starting off with a lot of smash attacks. Normally the risk of smash attacks is that, while yes, they deal more damage. Okay, Zero Suit Samus was able to grab the ledge. She always recovers backwards, and she gets some kills off of it, but she keeps sometimes not grabbing the ledge as a result. Anyways, the risk of smash attacks is that usually they take longer than tilts or whatever other moves you'd be using in their place. Obviously, they're usually most characters' kill moves, so you do want to be using them. And they do more damage kind of as a trade-off compared to, you know, your faster moves like a jab. But if you keep throwing out a whole bunch of smash attacks, you're usually not going to win. You need to be winning engagements, and you need to be winning them in a manner that, well, quite honest, most smash attacks are punishable on shield. So if your opponent just shields a whole bunch, then you're just going to be eating a whole bunch of damage that you don't need to be taking. Granted, most damage is damage you don't need to be taking, but any extra damage you do take does decrease your odds of winning. Of course, we're in the postseason this year, so I suppose you're going to find a whole bunch of Amiibo who do the exact thing that lowers their chance of winning. Granted, I will say that at least compared to previous years, this year's postseason seems to be a lot more effective than most other postseasons. Especially the further back you go, you would get... Oh, up smash actually killed Bowser Jr. there. The postseason in previous years would mainly be dominated by Amiibo who couldn't function in some way. For example, an Amiibo who couldn't kill 3 times in 8 minutes. And you'd get a lot of really long matches where not a lot happens. Zero Suit Samus recovering high. Zero Suit Samus has a very fast jump, so it can actually be very hard to punish her. Especially because Flip Kick is just such an amazing move for escaping. You can even land on the opponent to bury them for... If they're at a high enough percent, you can bury them for a guaranteed punish. Especially being such a lightweight character, locking your opponent into position to hit them with a smash attack, or, gonna be honest, usually an up special, definitely helps the Zero Suit Samus game plan. That time, Zero Suit Samus recovered backwards and didn't grab the plane. Kind of one of the problems with the Amiibo. Bowser Jr. landing out of all these combos, usually with an aerial of his own. And if it wasn't obvious, getting hit by a wrecking ball is normally more damaging than getting kicked in the head. Bowser Jr. is just a larger, slower character, so his moves just deal more damage. Zero Suit Samus, of course, having more combos, which normally is the way to go in a Smash Brothers game. Granted, Smash Ultimate is more balanced than I'd say any other Smash game that's come before it. Bowser Jr. just got clipped out of his up special. Okay, so he didn't get... Bowser Jr.'s up special works differently in that if you hit him early enough, then he gets knocked away without receiving the clown cart back. And that's exactly what happened to him. It's why you'll usually see Bowser Jr. players recover high instead of recover low. Because if they do get hit by any small amount of damage, it does send them into a special tumble state where suddenly they can't do anything else. I believe they can neutral air dodge, and they do have a special hammer attack. But that's 2 choices, and normally when a character's airborne, they have like 9 choices. Forward throw. Looks like that's going to be taking a kill over Zero Suit Samus. And now we have Ken against R.O.B. R.O.B US to be most specific, there are 2 R.O.Bs in the tournament. However, one of them made it into the normal April Anger tournament. So in the postseason, we're only going to be seeing one of them. R.O.B getting the classic down throw to up air conversion. Ken getting one more aerial out than I was expecting him to. Shoryuken not killing R.O.B yet. That is a very good kill move. I mean, it also deals damage, and obviously it's safer than landing, I think it was an up tilt that Ken landed on R.O.B. So chaining that into the giant flaming uppercut, definitely the right choice. Ken with a great spike, but R.O.B landed on the stage. Something to know about the Street Fighter characters, Ryu and Ken specifically, is that they have a very rare angled spike. So most characters have a spike that sends straight down. However, Ken and Ryu sends at a diagonally downwards angle. And you'd think that that would be less effective simply because of geometry, and that would mean that they're not sending them as directly downwards. Turns out in Smash Brothers that actually makes it more dangerous for a couple reasons. First of all, it means that you can be just barely above the stage, like at a ledge, and if you get spiked by, say, Ken, you will get thrown past the ledge to your death. Secondly, it turns out that at least in Ken's case, and Ryu, they have an identical down air for this. Oh, R.O.B actually was able to tech on the stage because of that very specific property of the down air we were talking about. So I guess there are some natural consequences. But also, most other characters, when you get hit by a just downward facing spike, you can still angle it towards the stage. This stage is actually a little bit of an exception because, as you can see, they're fighting on a large table, which means that the sides of the stage don't quite line up with the ledge. So, like, the ledge overhangs the walls of the stage. I'm not sure what the hitboxes specifically look like, but normally when you have a stage with ledges that go all the way down, unless it's Pokemon Stadium that has a pillar in the middle. And there we have the spike from Ken. So other advantages of the angledness of the spike is that it also throws the opponent away from the stage, assuming you're not hitting them into it, which is a choice you actually get to make when you have an angled spike. Is that a lot of characters, well, usually the characters with a very good recovery can at a low percent barely survive the spike. However, if you throw them down and away, then depending on the character and the situation, of course, that can change it from them surviving to them not being able to survive because they don't have enough recovery to also make up that horizontal distance you just sent them at. It's kind of why you get a lot of moves that... You don't get moves that send characters down in a way. First of all, because since most of those are grounded moves, it would mean that the characters would constantly be bouncing against the floor. One of the most vicious angles you can be sent at is actually just barely above horizontal, simply because in your knockback, gravity will apply and it will throw you just ever so downwards. Meanwhile, most smash attacks send at, I'd say, a pretty perfect 45-degree angle. At least forward smashes, a lot of those send at a 45-degree angle upwards. Kind of cancels out any gravity implications and whatnot. So while it is a shame to not see some of those more unique angles, whenever you do see one of those angles, you realize just how vicious they can be. Oh, berry to neutral air, actually. So something the R.O.B Amiibo has to deal with is that all the Amiibo are better than the average human at mashing out of things, which normally doesn't come up except with a berry. Wow, Ken is just getting destroyed. He's getting most, if not all, of these techs. He now is at 181%, so if he's not in the chamber of being able to tech, then he probably will be killed by, yep, for example, a neutral special. R.O.B using up all of his fuel for not really much of a reason there. Then off stage, he's able to make it back. So R.O.B's throw, his down throw, not his up throw, which you just saw, but his down throw does have a berry on it, and Amiibo are better than most humans at escaping that. I'm sure there's someone who has a really, really, really good mash, but as a whole, the Amiibo is going to be mashing out faster than a human will, especially since there's a little bit of a reaction time to know that you need to mash. Now, sometimes it's incredibly obvious, like when R.O.B grabs you, he's either going for a kill throw to send you off stage or to bury you. And the bury means that he can possibly kill you at 80 or 90%, and of course the possibility doesn't go away at higher percents. So normally that's what you're just going for anyway, because the danger of getting killed is a lot higher than the danger of getting thrown off stage. Not hitting the platform this time that's able to kill him off the top of the stage. And here we have Stever against Pikachu. Going to be on Final Destination for this one. Oh, nope. Sorry, this is, first of all, Battlefield, and secondly, this is actually Big Battlefield. It's like Battlefield, but bigger. Just one extra level of platforms. It is interesting how large the stage has to get as a result of that. Pikachu with a dangerous tech roll. Just in that Steve was so close, there's a good chance that if he had known, he could have punished appropriately. Pikachu loves overshooting these forwarders, actually getting up smashed for the second one. Pikachu seems to be really taking advantage of having a bevy of platforms available at any given time. Forward air, not able to get the launcher hitbox off of it. Forward smash near the ledge. Might have killed, but it didn't connect, so we won't know. Up smash, which is a dangerously strong move, by the way. It can start killing at 80 to 100% depending on your character. Now, I think the roof hitbox for Big Battlefield is actually a little bit larger than most of the other stages in the stage list, so it might not be as useful for Stever here. Stever pulling out the stone weapons. No, maybe it should be iron? It's probably iron, since at least one... Nope, that looks like stone. Interesting. I don't know what all the rules are for which tools get made when. I know iron weapons are possible to make. It also looks like Stever has at most 3 iron. The texture sometimes doesn't exactly match up with the exact quantity. Up smash? Not killing. On a smaller stage, I think that definitely would have. Especially with the rage that Stever's starting to build up. A higher up smash, however, the dirt block broke before Pikachu got hit by the final hitbox, which probably saved his life. The forward smash is going to kill. On the top platform, you simply have less room to DI attacks like that. Forward air near the edge of the stage. 2 more forward airs missing Stever. Pikachu hanging out on the platform. Forward smash again, barely missing. Stever just barely jumping over it. Wait, now it looks like Stever has iron tools. It's a little bit hard to see, partially because he's spending so long getting comboed by Pikachu. Yep, that is definitely an iron sword and an iron pickaxe. I must not have registered when he switched. He did just barely switch to diamond. One hit of back air clipping Stever there. Pikachu rolling through the minecart. That doesn't mean you don't get hit by any of it. It's always rough to shield it because Steve can jump out at the same moment it hits your shield, and that it accomplishes a couple of things. First of all, then the minecart hitbox becomes a grab. Pikachu with enough recover to not get killed by that. Stever grabbing the ledge, and Pikachu just keeps hitting him with combo starters. He needs to start hitting with kill moves. Like a down smash. Although that one did send him to the complete other side of the stage. If it had been flipped around, which I don't think Pikachu would have had time to do, then it would have killed. I don't know why Steve went for the TNT there with such a long fuse on it. It looked like he was planning to activate it himself. That is actually... So the intention of the move, the TNT move, is that you set up a piece of TNT and then you give it a little trail of redstone, and then it ends with a pressure plate. So you can walk onto the pressure plate to determine when it explodes. Well, because of Steve's... I mean, he's kind of slow in his move speed. I guess I'd say he's slower than average, but not like spectacularly slow. So because he's slow, it's hard to react to, for example, your opponent getting up off the ledge and immediately hitting them with an exploding TNT. On top of that, you have to make the fuse long enough that you don't get hit by it yourself. And people quickly found out that if you just put the pressure plate next to the TNT, it effectively becomes a landmine. Because then whoever lands on the pressure plate is getting hit by the TNT, unless they're invincible somehow. So that's pretty much all that the Steve players use it for, is to turn it into landmine instead of a remote activated detonation, because it's just so hard to do, especially since Steve has the resource mechanic. Most Steves would prefer to instead set a landmine and then start mining up more resources, which puts their opponent in a predicament where they have to either rush to interrupt the Steve or just let them acquire more resources, which lets them use their strongest moves even more. Pikachu's Thunder Jolt's actually bouncing off of Steve's blocks there. Which is interesting because I believe most projectiles normally just damage the blocks. Thunder Jolt being a little special in that it does bounce off of any solid stage elements. Pikachu gets a parry there instead of... Oh, up smash at 150%. Yeah, Pikachu's not going to survive that. Pikachu has one stock to take off of Stever, and a minute left on the clock. Both characters eating an explosion, probably to Stever's advantage, simply by having an extra stock at their disposal. Going for the diamond tools. Now is actually a fine time to go for it, since there's only so much time left in the match. And you can avoid the super sudden death by just getting a randomly quick kill off of Pikachu. Pikachu landed with a forward air, still not getting the launcher hitbox. Does get a spike off on Steve. Forward air is not killing that high up. Pikachu going for a very questionable offstage Thunder Jolt. Although combos that one into a grab. Got 8 seconds left on the clock. I think we're making it to super sudden death. I don't think Pikachu has anything that can kill this quickly without Steve's cooperation here. Back air actually saving Pikachu's life, but because Stever had an extra life, not going to super sudden death anyway. And here we have Kirby Classic against Pyra. Looks like we're going to be on Pilot Wings for this match. Kirby starting off with he used forward throw, but instead of following up with forward air, he used neutral air, and it wasn't fast enough to connect. If you fight enough Kirbys, you just come to expect the forward air out of the forward throw. I'm sure there's a couple other things you could try too, but it's just so reliable, and it can chain into more throws after that. Pyra succeeding in hitting Kirby with a lot of damaging attacks. Up smash not quite killing. Forward smash definitely is killing. Alright, Pyra with basically no damage to show for taking a stock off of Kirby there. Up smash already out damaging Kirby until he started this combo. Pyra gets put off stage, switches to Mythra, air dodges through the down air. Kirby suddenly taking back all the momentum after losing his first stock. Even if he did get hit by a couple of Mythra forward airs there. Orbiting above Pyra, just baiting out all of her very strong laggy moves. Only hitting one jab. Normally, unless you're going for something weird, like maybe trying to jab your opponent and seeing if you can sneak out a grab real quick. And it does sometimes happen. Some opponents will just hold shield out of anything, which I feel like is incredibly exploitable. But also, compared to doing nothing out of disadvantage, I can at least understand why some people go for it. Kirby going high. I guess he doesn't want anything to do with Pyra as Mythra trying to edge guard him. Down air sends Mythra past the ledge. She is able to recover up through the stage, though. Kirby again going obscenely high. Not much Mythra the character can do about that. Especially since her up special sends a projectile diagonally downwards. She can't even use that as... Oh, Pyra barely grabbing the stage, avoiding Kirby's down air as well. It would have been a very quick stock, which I guess Kirby Classic sort of needs at this point. Down air to down smash, the Kirby Amiibo's classic. It also works on non-Amiibo Kirbys, by the way, but the Kirby Amiibos, which I guess I should mention because I haven't, there is Kirby Classic and Kirby Smash Brothers. One of them is the Smash Brothers series Amiibo. The other one is the Kirby series Amiibo. Which I guess if you're watching this in the future, there might be like 5 Kirby Amiibos out by now. Although I guess I should mention that it's not the Kirby Air Riders Amiibo. That's right, I just realized that this year, for the first time, we have multiple Kirby Amiibos in existence besides the Smash Brothers one. And that's, of course, assuming that there's not one that I somehow don't know about. There's a whole bunch of Kirby merchandise in general, so I don't think they needed to sell multiple Kirby Amiibos. I mean, already, if you want a Kirby something, there's at least 50 options for plushies or figurines or what have you. Up special is going to kill Kirby off the top of the stage, which means that he's going to have to keep fighting, and Pyra is not going to have to. That brings us to Bayonetta against Falco. Going to be on Midgar for this one, the Final Fantasy stage. With the platform layout, it is essentially identical to Battlefield. It is actually a very different stage if you have stage hazards on, but we have them off. So it is effectively just recolored Battlefield. And I think in tournaments it's actually kind of usually treated as such. I'm sure there's some small differences, like maybe the platforms are a slightly different height or length or something. But given the ability that we now have, it didn't start out in the game, but it got patched in for Battlefield, well, any of the Smash Brothers specific stages actually. You can now play any song in the game when you're on them. It kind of negates the point of having Midgar as a Battlefield alternate. It does have a lot more visually going along in the background, which definitely can help break up the monotony. But to be quite honest, listening to the same 9 songs, especially since it shared all the songs in common with Final Destination, which is another tournament stage. Ooh, Falco went for a taunt there. Behavior we trained out of most of our amiibo. Some of them still have it just a little bit. It's really hard to train out a specific thing. I could always just wipe the amiibo's memory and go for a new training. I don't want to do that because then I feel like it's, I don't know, like killing someone and replacing them with an identical imposter. I'm trying to, even though, you know, these are plastic figurines with bits of code associated with them. While I'm fine with changing some of their behavior, I still do want them to have some essence of what they started with, if that makes sense. Also, Falco's never been retrained, so I've never had a reason to do that to him. Whereas Bayonetta, I'm pretty sure, has been retrained. If you've watched in a previous year, she definitely seems to be hitting a lot longer aerial combos than, well, than she used to not be hitting, to be quite honest. Falco is, of course, also a very aerial combo-oriented character. And he's been hitting some moves on Bayonetta, to be sure. I guess it's a little bit of a rough comparison because Bayonetta just has such extensive combo lists she can go through. Whereas Falco just kind of has, like, the 4 good moves, if that makes sense. Not that any of his moves are particularly bad. But you'll normally see him start combos with an up tilt. You'll see him try to get quick kills with a back air. Or if he's not going to be hitting that, then he's usually hitting neutral air to send people off stage. If he's ledge guarding, then you'll see forward air come out to just make it even easier to edge guard with. At least that's just stereotypical Falco behavior. Bayonetta needs to be finding a kill move here. Normally she's been resorting to her smash attacks. I mean, it's what she got the first stock with. And they are a large hitbox, so it can be... See, she did miss Falco with it, but it was probably a good play because if Falco had teched in place, would have secured the stock right there and then. So while yes, the more optimal play would have been killing Falco, attempting to kill him was at least an admirable... Up smash is going to be killing Bayonetta off the top. Wow. Looks like Falco's not going to be moving on this year. And here we have Shulk against Ivysaur. Going to be on Kalos Pokemon League for this one. So yes, this is the same Ivysaur amiibo that won the first year of April Anger and the second year of April Anger. I guess it kind of just goes to show either the cruel passage of time or how much the amiibo have improved that, without looking it up, this is the first year of my knowledge that Ivysaur hasn't made it into the tournament. Maybe there's been another year when a previous contestant hasn't, after, of course, the year when they won. Again, I don't have any analytics for that, so I'm just going off the top of my head. Oh, Shulk getting an edge guard on... Nope, Charizard's able to make it back. Charizard does have an extra double jump that Ivysaur and Squirtle don't. One of the advantages of having wings. And it does... The game actually does keep track of if you've used your second jump and if you've used your third jump. You can use your double jump as Squirtle, switch to Ivysaur, and you still don't have your double jump. But then if you switch to Charizard, you will then have your third double jump. Your double jump? I don't think that anyone's come up with the terminology for that. And of course, if you've used your double jump as Charizard and then switched to Squirtle, since Squirtle won't be able to use his double jump since it's already been used, by definition, you can only use your second double jump after your first double jump. And Squirtle and Ivysaur not having a third jump, you don't get to see how it carries over the used property between them. It basically does mean, though, that you can always switch to Charizard for just a little extra recovery, which is interesting. I think it is kind of nice that the character has... It's interesting that the character is just, at least in that specific respect, verifiably... Ivysaur made it back, actually, after bouncing off the stage with Squirtle's withdrawal. Anyways, the character is definitively stronger, at least in that single respect, if you are willing to switch to other Pokemon over the course of the match, instead of just treating the character as glorified is just Squirtle, for example, or I play Pokemon Trainer, but only Ivysaur. You just have an advantage if you're willing to switch Pokemon, at least in that case of recovery. And of course, in a general sense, being able to switch your stats in the middle of a match is very valuable. I mean, we do have Ivysaur against Shulk, who... Shulk is, I guess, the closest we have to a stance character in Smash Bros. Ultimate. I guess it depends on what you qualify a stance as, but Shulk can just decide to switch his stats on a moment's notice. Whereas Pokemon Trainer, you can, of course, also change your stats, but you do change your moveset along with it. Which I guess could also be your definition of a stance character. Some of the fighting game terminology. Shulk barely able to making it back using Jump Monado as well. Going for Speed Monado and then trying to jump at Squirtle and using Up Smash. Not normally how you see Speed Monado used, if I can be quite honest. Especially since Speed Monado, if I have it correct, it lowers your attack power slightly. So using it and then going for a kill move, unless your opponent's at a high enough percent where the attack reduction shouldn't matter. Oh yeah, Shulk just got his recovery stifled a whole bunch, then he wasn't able to grab the ledge that time. Which means Ivysaur got himself out of the loser's bracket. And for this match, we're going to be having Palutena against Mr. Game & Watch. Gonna be on Battlefield for this one? Big Battlefield for this one. It can be a little hard to tell, because they do have the same background. The stages aren't meant to be significantly different. It really is just one is a different size of the other. Now, we do have two characters here who, at various points in Smash Ultimate's lifespan, have been considered very dominant threats. Now, the Amiibo scene, not so much, simply because training an Amiibo is different from characters playing in a tournament. In the early days of Smash Ultimate, Palutena was definitely seen at the top of the herd, and these days, Mr. Game & Watch is actually in that zone, where Palutena has kind of fallen off a bit. I still think she'd be a respectable choice. Although, again, Smash Ultimate is the most balanced Smash game we've ever had. There aren't any characters that you can just go up against and mentally tune out. The closest, I guess, we'd have is Ganondorf, and if you stop paying attention against him, he will destroy you. So you do have to actually play the game, if that makes sense. But other than that, I'm pretty sure every character has made, you know, admirable efforts in the tournament scene, so I gotta give props yet again to the balance team for making everyone feel like they're capable of doing something. I mean, for example, in Smash 4, Palutena was pretty rough to play as, simply because her only move that came out fast enough to really accomplish anything was her forward air. So she would just kind of short hop in place and keep forward airing because it's the only move she could actually get to hit opponents. Whereas just by making her slower moves just a little bit faster, making her moves just a little bit more punishing, and quite honestly, the 3-frame universal jump squat, which makes her jump actually incredibly quick, since that she has the same jump squat animation frames as everyone else in the game. And she has a pretty high jump, so it actually moves pretty quickly upwards. Combined with the fact that her up air kills off the top, her neutral air can combo into itself. Definitely made her a much more respected character. Then Mr. Game & Watch, he actually wasn't getting respected at all at first. It was actually a little interesting, because anyone who played against him online could easily tell you he was incredibly annoying to go against. Usually because of up special down air, which you'll still see Mr. Game & Watch's used to this day. They have, of course, found other shenanigans to throw in there. And it turns out that just by using 2 moves will get you punished by opponents, depending on how competent the opponent is at the game. And it turns out over the course of, oh, how long has it been? 8 years since the game came out? Originally. That people have definitely gotten better at the game. And of course, people finding out the hard way that Game & Watch's up special out of shield is probably the best in the game. At least for that specific purpose. It comes out fast, covers both sides of him, has a hitbox that he can combo into moves out of his up special as well. Or even if not combo, he's actionable out of his up special, which is a rather rare trait, although it's getting increasingly common with newer characters added into the game. Probably because it is just an easy way to make a character better if you're bouncing a new character, which they do actually do. I know there's a little bit of a reputation for DLC characters being absolutely busted, and a lot of them are quite good, and that's kind of a symptom of, well, some people won't buy a character unless they're good. Back throw at the ledge is killing Mr. Game & Watch. And for our last match of the episode, we're going to be having Mario against Squirtle. Going to be on Spiral Mountain for this one. And I believe since we have stage hazards off, we're not going to be seeing the mountain rotate? Oh, that might be wrong. I can't remember everything. Oh, Ivysaur actually, Squirtle as Ivysaur almost just reached the bottom blast zone while using the tether recovery at such a long range. Wow, Squirtle's getting absolutely demolished by Mario here. Mario's just landing everything. Up air, up special combo. I didn't know the Amiibo knew that. Oh, the side platform seemed to have moved away. I'm still not sure if that means we're going to be getting the stage rotation. It actually affects a lot less than you'd think. Specifically because the top platform is circular. I guess it does have a little bit of a notch near the back corner there where, you know, the spiral meets the top of the mountain. But in general, the stage spinning is a lot less problematic than you'd think it would be. Mario gets spiked, but he gets spiked onto a platform, so he's able to survive that. The switch to Charizard definitely seems to be working out for Squirtle. Up smash will kill off the top. Mario air dodging through Squirtle's assault, able to get back to the power position of the stage. It is harder to make it up when you're on the lower platform on the side there. That being said, it is easier than normal, since otherwise Mario got hit by that. Okay, fully charged up smash. I mean, it is a very strong move. Just normally the safe approach is to not approach it from above. Anyways, making it back onto stage is easier on this stage, at least when you're on the right side, because you do have that lower platform that you can use to your benefit. Normally you'd be hanging onto the ledge and then you'd be getting ledge trapped, but a lot of ledge traps fail when the opponent has the option to just retreat to a lower platform and choose their timing of their approach. Wow, Flare Blitz is also a strong move, killing Mario there as well. He did air dodge exactly into it. Flare Blitzing against the stage, able to grab the lower platform. Usually Charizard can survive Flare Blitzing into the stage using his double jump and up special to make it back to the ledge. Squirtle just went through all the Pokemon available to him in a very short amount of time. Mario really needs to be finding a kill if he wants to be winning this match, after he was doing so well at the beginning. recovering past Charizard. Up tilt. Probably the worst move you could have gone for in that situation. And I believe Mario doesn't have his jump, so that's the game. Which means Squirtle wins, and Mario has to keep fighting. That's it for this round. For anybody not keeping track, this is the end of... I guess it's now round 1. It would have been round 2, except that everyone in the first round actually got a bye, because there were 50% fewer challengers. So this was the right half of the bracket, which means that things are going to be a lot faster this year. Other than that, feel free to stay tuned for future episodes. Until then, bye.